All right, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
I got to ask you. And I was thinking about this. Are the Colts better today than they were, or at the end of camp, than they were at the start of camp? Because I'm hearing all this stuff about this guy's improved, that guy's blah, blah, blah.
We have no idea.
That's what I'm saying.
We don't know. They're playing against each other. How the hell?
That's what I'm saying.
Can Josh Downs get open against real quarterbacks or only against their own cornerbacks? And if you talk to people who are in Philadelphia and watch the joint practices with the Bears, what you get from those guys is that going up against the Bears was like the JV and the Eagles were like the varsity. Well,
and that was Rick Venturi's. That was Rick Venturi.
Right.
And when Rick says it, we pay attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to find out together what they're like. But the thing you also, on their plus side, we don't know what their playbook's going to look like, what their schemes are going to look like. Are they going to go deep more often? Is it going to be check down Charlie? What kind of a thing is this? Can Zach Moss play? We don't know.
Zach Moss is playing, right?
Yeah,
Zach Moss is healthy. And
he was limited the last 2 days, but he's going to play. What
about Shaq Leonard?
He is going to play. We talked to Shaq yesterday. Shaq is just as salty. Shaq's like if you've ever had a steak that was a little bit salty but delicious, now the steak is just as salty, but it's overcooked and it's weird. And you know what I mean?
What's he mad about?
Well, he's mad about the media.
Oh, what the media do?
What
happened?
Well, he thinks that everybody's rooting against him.
Why would we root for him or against him? Just go play. What does it matter?
I root for him.
Yeah.
I like him.
Okay.
He's a good guy.
Fair enough.
I want him to do well.
Wait.
Nobody's rooting against him.
Who has written anything about Shaq Leonard other than he's the greatest guy? The only thing I've said is I think his teammates got tired of him during Hard Knocks. But who's written anything or said anything that Shaq Leonard is upset?
He says he's got screenshots.
Oh, he's got receipts?
He's got screenshots.
Receipts.
So he looked at Stephen Holder, your guy, and said, I got screenshots.
Oh, boy.
And Steve was like, of something I did? And then it all just kind of fell apart and the media availability was over. I don't know. Can he move? Like last year, I just felt sorry for him because he couldn't move anymore, but he was still out there. It was like watching Dick Butkus like in 1973 when he was kind of limping around trying to play. It was just sad.
I'm currently trying to find Shaq Leonard on Twitter and go, hey, Shaq Leonard, screenshot this.
I asked him about personal goals because he's always I want 200 tackles. I want to be first team All-Pro, blah, 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 blah. He said, my personal goal is to get better every game. And moved on to the next thing. I was like, all right, he knows who he is. Yeah. And I think he knows he can't play anymore. And it's just sad. He knows he's not 2019 Shaquille Leonard or Darius Leonard.
Let me ask you then why? Why can't he play anymore?
I think it's the nerve damage and getting his strength back and that kind of stuff. I mean, he's just not who he was. These guys are so elite athletically that if you shave off even a tiny percentage, that's a huge loss. Yeah. And I think that's what's happened with him. They still voted him a captain, though. The players did.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to have some respect for him.
I would think. I mean, I mean, I just know that when I watched Hard Knocks way back, two things. Carson Wentz was a complete eye guy that even Jonathan Taylor was like, yeah, okay, great. And Shaq Leonard would wear your ass out if you had any sense as a teammate, unless you were just scared of him. Maybe he's insane. I don't know. But him
and the special teams coach was a genius.
Special teams
genius.
Coach. Buddy,
you're going to get one, EJ? Okay, all right.
And then when it happens, I'm going to get right next to the head coach. See me, guys? Shut up. And then all the idiots here. Bubba Ventrone should be the interim head coach. No, Bubba Ventrone should go away. And I'm glad Bubba Ventrone, I hope he's happy. I hope he's somewhere good. He's somewhere, you said.
Yeah, he's hired for sure.
Yeah, well, so as I look at the Colts, and the reason I asked you about Leonard, basically, I guess maybe the Colts are pretty healthy going into the year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's nobody major other than Leonard.
Moss and Leonard are the only guys on the injury report at all.
Yeah, well, I guess, you're going to say, well, Taylor is. And okay, Taylor is, I guess. But he kind of, I feel like, and a week or so has happened, so you tell me, but I feel like Taylor wasn't going to play at this point regardless of health. I just feel that way.
And they pupped him, and that's a mutual decision. That's what everybody believes. Nobody's saying it, that, this allows him to get paid. It doesn't burn the bridge completely. You're not burning the bridge and the boat and the trucks and making this a complete disaster. You're allowing a window to maybe, have Jim write in with a checkbook and make it all good.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you this every week as we get moving forward. Is Taylor going to play when he's off?
I think he is. I think he'll play week 5. I think they'll figure it out.
The reason I'm asking about this is because what have we seen? We saw Nick Bosa come to camp. A week or so ago, we saw Josh Jacobs come to camp. Now, I know the Burrow extension is, a reward because he just got over $55 million a year for 5 years, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, how much money is there in the NFL and the NBA?
Oh, yeah.
Honest to God.
And what I love about Burrow is that Burrow, the whole way up until he signed, say, you know what, it's not about money.
Right.
If I have to sacrifice something to make the team better, good. I'm willing to do it. And then he signs the richest deal in the history of the NFL. That's Pittman, same way. Pittman is being classy. He's like, I want to be here. My wife and I are building a house. We got kids. This is where we want to be. It's where he wants to be until somebody else wants to pay him more. But he's saying the right things. You got to say the right things and be a strategist in that way too.
I'm not so sure that Taylor has followed that. I think Taylor has been the exact opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
He's been terrible.
He's been horrible.
Really bad.
Shockingly horrible for who he's supposed to be. I say it every day on this show.
And I knew it at minicamp. When he almost never says anything, so I was kind of hesitant to go over there. But I went over, and he's like, look, the running back position, and he started railing against how the CBA is predatory against running backs. I was like, oh, this is really not good. If Jonathan Taylor is saying this stuff, this isn't going to end pretty, and it hasn't. I
don't think anybody cares. I think that now that last night the season started, Kadarius Toney couldn't catch a cold. Dan Campbell, it seems like he's got a good team. I don't think anybody gives a rat's ass about the running backs getting on a call or Jonathan Taylor being the power broker of the running back. Screw you, go play.
Right.
That's what I always tell him. That's what happens when the season starts.
This is no different to me than a guy being injured and lost for the season. Out of sight, out of mind, next man up, let's go.
You win, we're going to say, great. You lose, we're going to say, Taylor. Let me put you this way. You're Jonathan Taylor, and you handled it this way. I get last night people said Chris Jones sitting out and Kansas City losing was a good thing for Chris Jones because it showed his value. I don't believe that.
It showed Kelsey's value.
It showed Kelsey's value big time, so you don't have to throw to some of these clowns.
Right.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that. And I think Jonathan Taylor is in the opposite spot. I think if the Colts lose, it's going to be, they might have won if that Taylor wasn't so selfish. And if they win, they're going to say, well, we don't need him anyway. See, the running back position doesn't matter. I think that's the situation that Taylor is in, Ken.
You have to honor your audience. And he's got 2 audiences. The one is in the locker room, and they could not care less. And the other are teachers and cops and firefighters and the people who save and scrimp to buy season tickets who aren't going to make $4.3 million in their lives. And he's saying, you know what, that's not enough for me. You got to know your audience. He's playing to an audience of 1.
And I don't know if people can say, well, it's Midwestern values. I don't think it would play anywhere. I honestly don't. I don't think it played in L.A. when Josh Jacobs got on a flight and left his team. I don't think anybody gave a crap or Vegas, I'm sorry. I mean, I think you say, look, you're whining. I don't want to hear it. And then his guys come back and start doing what Jacobs did or doing what Bosa did or doing what some others have done, sign the contract, get back into camp, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I think it even exasperates it for Jonathan Taylor. And you say, screw you. These other guys understood. They signed. Let's go. What are you doing?
And people here are strange. And cities are different. We've lived in different cities. And what you learn is that there's kind of an individual DNA for every city. And the DNA for Indianapolis is we love you until you show you don't love us. Then we turn our backs and we remember forever.
Paul George, Victor Oladipo.
Yeah, right, 100%.
Yeah, and I'm sure there were others earlier. I don't know.
Andrew Luck.
Andrew, oh God, yeah, Andrew, no question about it. Absolutely, Andrew Luck. And, you can write that Andrew Luck's the smartest guy in the world. You can write that Andrew Luck did what he needed to do for Andrew Luck.
Right.
But that doesn't play with us.
No.
Screw you. All right, if you're going to quit, then quit. But don't quit on the sideline trying to keep it secret, standing out there with your team, and then on Monday you were going to announce it until Schefter apparently got it and ran with it. Don't do that. Screw you.
Managing information is always a mistake.
Oh, man. You know what? The more I watch how this goes, the more, if I were a high-profile athlete player, I'd just shut the hell up.
Oh yeah.
I would just shut up. I'd be cordial to everybody, but I wouldn't be nasty. I'd be like, you know what? Win a game or two, let's get going. But I would but I just would, man.
And if you're boring, nobody comes and asks you stuff. So use boredom to your advantage.
Yeah.
Like Braden Smith. Good luck getting Braden Smith to say anything interesting about anything to anyone.
Yeah.
It doesn't. He sits at his locker by himself, and we wander around like lunatics. All right, who we want to talk to now, and never even look at Braden Smith. That's genius from Braden Smith.
It's, and you probably taught me this because I know I wasn't smart enough to get it, but after basically every guest that I have on for radio for 14 years and certainly now Outkick, there's an evaluation. Do we want that person back? Right?
Do they elevate your show?
Yeah, I had a lady today, Nancy Mace. She's a congresswoman, a representative from South Carolina who made one of the funniest jokes ever at a prayer breakfast. She said, I got up at 7. She's kind of hot. I got up at 7. My fiance tried to pull me back in by my hips. I said, no, baby, we got time for that later on. But So she was on my show today, and I swear to God, I wanted to have her on every day now.
Yeah.
Because you evaluate. Like Braden Smith comes on, you're like, I don't need that. Let's get this. It's the same thing, whether you're walking around a locker room, doing a radio show, doing a TV show. You're there to get information, or certainly, I don't know about get entertained when you're in a locker room, but you're there to get information, get something good you can use. I'm there on my morning show to be entertained, and I need somebody that's going to add the juice to it. So so that's where Shaquille O'Neal or Shaquille Leonard has a problem. He was always that guy that you could go to.
Right.
And so you still go to him, and now when he doesn't deliver or his modus operandi has changed, you're like, well, fuck, he's checked out.
Right.
Or whatever it is.
Right.
That's interesting. That is really
He thinks we're the enemy, and we're not. Like, he'll take rogue incidents of what he views to be insubordination from the media and cast it upon everyone. He went after Chap yesterday, and nobody goes after Chap. Chap asked him about concussions. He's right behind me. And he like, no. Are you worried about concussions? No. Gotcha. Was ready for it. And like... What? Mike Chappell's the nicest, most respectful guy in the history of Indianapolis media, and really good at his job. Don't treat him like some barroom brawler guy who's trying to poke you into a bizarre response.
Yeah, don't treat him like TMZ.
Right? It's Mike Chappell. He's the dean. Come on. What are you doing?
That. I said this earlier. I'm really, really looking forward to the Colts game for one reason. I don't give a crap. And this is a shift for me because every time when I was doing a show, I wanted to see who could rush the passer.
Yeah.
That was like my thing. I want to see who can rush because they put so much equity into that. So many draft choices. We got the Hurricane. We got Kwity Paye. We took Adayu, whatever. I was like, geez, I got a headache. Now the only thing I want to watch is Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
That's the only thing going into this game. Can he put the ball right here enough times that you think, and maybe they lose, I don't know, but at least you think you got a chance with this guy. And as you know, Kent, first impressions last.
Yeah.
They're not meaningful many times, but they certainly last.
You're right, although Manning threw 3 picks.
I didn't say they were meaningful.
Right.
I say they last.
And
you're still talking about Manning, even
true.
Tell me what he did his second year. How many picks and interceptions?
Yeah, it was much better.
But you don't know.
No.
Everybody knows.
28.
I'm telling you.
There you are.
I'm telling you.
I think, you know what? He is a really charismatic athlete who can get, other than, like, Matt Ryan was going to fold like paper mache. He was Mr. Paper Mache quarterback. Just coward, and hit the dirt. Not Anthony Richardson.
No.
He's going to run with it. He's going to keep plays alive. Guys are going to run routes, not just like to where they're supposed to end, but they're going to pay attention, like with Mahomes. And they're going to figure out a way to move the ball in a different way for the first time since 2018. I think it's cool.
I think that is cool, very cool. And I'm also looking forward to Shane Steichen. We saw last night that I don't know how many. Did you watch last night's game?
I watched most of it.
All right. So Dan Campbell, fake punts on the 17-yard line, and people like, what a risk. And I went the other way. I'm like, that wasn't a risk. He did what Belichick used to do.
Right.
He understood there's no difference in me giving Mahomes the ball on the 17 or me giving Mahomes the ball on the 50.
Yep.
So the combination of all of that, the positives of going for it, change the game if you make it, keep a drive alive, another possession Mahomes doesn't have, as opposed to, all right, we may give him on the 18-yard line, or if we punt it well, cover it, let's say he's got 50 yards to 60 yards to go. Brilliant. Dan Campbell was having a good game. The coach on the other side, because his wide receiver couldn't catch the ball, but also because Andy Reid, I thought made, and again, I don't know shit, I don't know the background, but they're 3rd and 1 in a big spot, and they run this jet sweep kind of thing where the guy's going backwards when there was penetration the whole day by Detroit. Andy Reid had a bad game. Yeah. I'm telling you, as a coach, there were some games, every single thing I said worked beautifully. And there were some games that no matter how much I studied film, no matter how much this was, the guy threw the ball out of bounds, the back cut was behind him. I mean, it's like, shit, I didn't know this. I did not know that you could have a bad game as a coach. So I'm anxious to see what Steichen does in this game, and does it facilitate winning? Does it cause losing? I'm just saying, that's one thing I'm anxious on.
Well, we've dealt with Frank Reich for the last 5 years, and Frank Reich would never punt from his own 17. I thought that at the time. I was like, man, he's the anti-Frank Reich. What a beautiful guy. I wanted to go give him a big hug.
Yeah.
You know, and what he did, if they don't get it, he puts the loss on him.
Sure.
His players aren't going to have to answer for it. It's a good thing to do on so many levels and made so much sense. And you saw, like, the cutaway to the Chiefs, I'm assuming it was the special teams coach.
Yeah.
He was like, he threw his hat and he's like, geez.
Yeah.
You know, the game was his to win as a special teams guy, and they didn't do it. He had a bad game, too.
You know what I thought when I saw that reaction? We worked on this. We knew this was something they were going to do, and you let them run right up the middle. Because when I watched it after they showed the guy, they had the middle stacked.
Yeah.
And I could tell by that, and again, I could be dead wrong, but the coach in me kicked in. I wasn't listening to the sound. We were over at this Denver's pizza place, and I was watching, and I saw him, and I'm like, he knew. That coach had prepared for that. Because your reaction when you're not is the kind of, don't ask, don't tell, let me get out of the way. He was very visible and he knew that coaches know when the camera's going to be on him. Ken.
Right.
So by him doing all that crap, he was like, I told these they f***ed it up.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Let me ask you this. Let me move in another direction. We'll come back to the Colts. But Colorado beats TCU. And a guy for TCU who's a transfer from the Naval Academy says, you know, our defensive coordinator told us all week long exactly what they were going to do, and they did exactly what we thought they were going to do, and we didn't stop it. This is on us, and we are not going to have this shit happen again. I was like, man.
That's real.
And then you juxtapose that with Indiana's quarterback saying, I couldn't get in a rhythm.
Yeah.
You know, I was in, Sorsby's in, Davis is, or Jackson's in, and we couldn't get in a rhythm. My ass.
Which guy said that, Jackson?
I think it was, in fact, I think both did. But then get in a rhythm.
Right.
What's the matter with you?
Right.
Call yourself out. I've got to be ready to play, no matter when I'm called upon. I want the situation to be perfect. My ass. Last night, you saw a team that went and took it, and you saw a team that got it taken from them.
I agree. I agree with everything you said. Like, as a coach, you want what the first guy from TCU did. The one guy said we were a laughingstock in college football, Good for him for feeling that way. I mean, I just watched the end of the Swamp Kings, and that seems to be the way the Florida kids would have been that won national championships. We effed this up. We worked to all that stuff. The Indiana thing doesn't surprise me. I think that little Jackson kid is an entitled, just you and I have seen it so many times, Kent. Whether it's a football recruit, I did a little research on Indiana and I put it out and people are mad, but if you're mad, kiss my ass. Indiana.
You don't deal with the anger of others well.
No. Indiana, all these recruits. We got, what's Jackson's, Trayvon or something like that?
Trayvon.
Yeah, whatever. He's coming from Tennessee. He's going to be great. The quarterback, Blazik, or whatever his name is last year, was Mississippi, Missouri. He's going to be great. All these guys are going to be great. And Indiana has been shit in football.
Yeah.
All these recruits in basketball, Fat Jeff Rabjohns, we got 5 stars, program changers. Do you know how many Elite Eights Indiana has been in since 2002?
One? No,
Zero.
Right. Sweet
With
16
all these 5 stars.
Right.
I'm not talking about Final Fours. You can get, if you get a good, number 1 seed, you can crap your way into a Sweet 16.
Right.
So I went with a little bit more. Indiana, in the entire history of the school, started basketball in 1901. 11 Elite Eights. That's it. And I'm sitting there every year reading about how great these fuckers are. How great this. We got a recruiting class coming in, and I could close my eyes. I did not pay attention. My neighbor asked me, he goes, what about the recruiting, a big weekend for recruiting? I go, let me close my eyes. Nobody's coming in from the state of Indiana or Illinois or Ohio.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And I guarantee you some overhyped clowns from some freaking prep school somewhere south or east are coming in that are going to change the whole program.
Ding, ding, and ding.
Where are they
3
coming from?
in. They're all coming from Mount Verde.
Is that in Florida?
I believe so, yeah.
Is that where,
okay,
yeah, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And here again, you get these guys, they're going to be great.
Yeah.
You get Travion Jackson Davis or whatever the fuck his name is.
I do.
Everybody does
I'm
it.
excited every year.
And I did research.
Mackenzie Mbako.
Oh,
holy cow.
0. None. I'm going to do a little research for you. I think Duke has had 11 Elite Eights in the same period of time.
Yeah.
Duke has had as many as Indiana has in its history. And you talked about football and these idiots. I'm out of a rhythm. No, really? Okay, you're out of a rhythm. But
we've been out of rhythm in Bloomington since 67.
Honest to God.
Since Harry Gonzo.
And a couple good years when Anthony Thompson would run it 372 times and Dave Schnell was good and Ernie Jones was good and all that.
Grandpa Van Waiters.
Yo, he was unbelievable.
Did me for 11 years.
Oh, I love Van Waiters. I love Van.
He is there forever.
He used to get mad at me. I'd go, you know what? He was a really good basketball player.
Was he?
Oh, he would play with us in the back in the field house. And whenever I wanted to make him mad, and he was a big, tough dude, right? He was great, but he was the nicest kid in America. I go, you know what, Van? I go, you're the only guy I know. Parents named you after where you were conceived.
Jeez.
And you know what he would do? Laugh his ass
Would
off.
he?
Oh, he would come back with, my name's Dickich, or something like that, right? And nobody got offended. I loved that guy. He would strip guy, but that's Indiana football.
Yeah,
that's all we got. Again, I'm going to read up on these guys. You said from Monteverde, right?
Yeah.
I do not pay attention because I'm so tired of Rabjohns and Assembly Call and all these little douchebags. This is the greatest. We got 0 Elite Eights.
You got William McNeely, 6'7".
Yeah.
He's multidimensional.
Oh, good,
he can guard more than one spot. He can shoot, he can pass.
Oh, well.
You've got Derek Queen.
Oh, he's good.
6'9", 230. He can rebound. He's a machine.
Yeah.
And then you got some other guy who's kind of a lesser version of Jalen Hood, whose name I can't remember, to my credit.
Are these guys going to change the culture of Indiana?
It would seem.
Jesus.
And that's what I don't get. Either recruit Indiana and be mediocre or recruit nationally and hang banners. Don't recruit nationally and be mediocre.
I learned that lesson. We brought in, I thought, when Charlie Miller and Andre Patterson,
Richard
and
Mandeville.
Neil Reed, and when they came out, I watched Richard Mandeville absolutely kick the living shit out of Rashard Griffin, who was the number 1 center in the country at Nike. Then he stepped outside and drilled top of the key jump. I'm like, a shooting center that can go bang with frickin' Rashard Griffin? let's go, right? And then he gets there, and he couldn't handle Coach Knight. Coach Knight made him nuts, and Charlie couldn't handle Coach Knight, and Andre. It's amazing, but Indiana kids, you're right. Indiana kids can handle all. If you really think about it, and I'm going back to the Indiana football team. Schnell was an Indiana guy. Thompson was an Indiana guy. Ernie Jones was an Indiana kid. All these kids had a real pride. I remember thinking that at the time, a real pride in Indiana football. They did, and I think all of them are in the Hall of Fame. I think Dave Schnell might have passed away. I could be wrong about that. I don't know why that's in my head, but it was no different in football.
Yeah.
These kids had a real pride in being here. The difference was the brand and all that crap now. But honest to God, I'm so tired of hearing about how everybody's so great coming here to the state of Indiana. And then you go, Woodson's 21-19 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And the football is the guy.
And here's a bag.
That's goal. I had one former player that knows tell me, Dan, he goes, the NIL is the only thing keeping that ship afloat because those dudes are dumb and they don't work hard.
Really?
The coaches are set up. And the football staff is dumb by the way they handle the mutual friend of our son.
Yeah.
I'm not saying dumb as people. I'm saying dumb in terms of how they set up recruiting visits and what they do. Like
completely disorganized.
Indiana and Tom Allen was dumb. How they handled that. You got to be smart. You got to outthink. I'll give you a story on Coach Knight, and I know this is morphing to somewhere we probably shouldn't, but Coach Knight knew the Hendersons. Alan Henderson, his dad and his mom were great people.
Yeah.
They had a big house. Doctor, smart as hell. So Knight's like, you know what? First time I'm ever going to go, and there is a suite at the top of the Union that is incredible. He goes, I'm putting those folks up there. Because I want them to know, I know who you are. I know how you live. I want you to know. Knight was so smart. He's like, and it was so hard to get this suite. It was unbelievable hard. But we got this suite. Annette and I think it was Ray Henderson, rest in peace. Great. I love them. But Knight, we're like, really? Okay. And he's like, Dan, I'm telling you right now, you're not coaching today. You're sitting in the bleachers with the Hendersons, and you're going to explain everything that we're doing from a player perspective. It's the only time I ever did that. Because the Hendersons were brilliant people.
Right.
They were not going to say, well,
how are you going to use Allen?
I didn't give a shit. No, they knew Allen could play, and they were smart. Knight was smart. This recruiting group is dumb at Indiana, but thank God for the bag.
Yeah.
Thank God. But I'm telling you, that's what I mean by smart. You got to know you said it earlier, you got to know your freaking audience.
Yeah, right.
Like, they didn't have to do that for my dad or me. I'm just like, oh, shit, I'll come to Indiana. What am I going to do? But with the Hendersons, he was going to go to Duke and lead school. He was going to go to Stanford, lead school. You had to understand it.
And Evans, I heard a story from Evans where he didn't even know if he had been offered.
He's
like
full of shit.
Down and said, you want to come here or not? And then he walked away, and they showed up. He showed up.
I showed up.
In his room, well, when he came to town, he's in the dorm and he got in trouble for not going to workouts, but nobody told him about him or something.
Oh, I'll guarantee you that happened.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. Yeah, it was like Knight's thing was, well, Brian got offered. Knight went to see him. He said, you go see him. If you think he's good enough, offer him a scholarship, but we got another day. And I can't remember the exact story, but I think I told him when I left Terre Haute Sally, I go, look, I know Evansville is great. Jimmy Cruz recruited me. I know he's a great recruiter, great coach, but you got to tell us today. And I left. And I think I got all kind of messages at my house from Evans's family saying, can you call us when because I have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Can you call? And I called him. Like, we're coming. But he was a great player. And, times are different, but don't be dumb. You got to know.
Right.
Like the story of the kid, I don't know if we should mention his name. I don't know if you want me to or not. The quarterback.
No.
No, we won't do that. But they just screwed up the visit and were unorganized. And if you're unorganized, you're dumb. It's the only thing you got. You got a coach and you got to recruit. They took academics out of coaches' hands. Pretty much have taken discipline out of coaches' hands. You got to be smart in recruiting. You cannot be dumb in recruiting.
No, like you said, know your audience. And if these people are buttoned-down people and organized, tell them where to be and when, and be there.
Yes.
And follow through on your itinerary and look organized. Because if you're a football coach and you're not organized,
you're screwed.
What kind of a program
you're
got?
Dumb. You got a dumb program.
Right.
Don't be dumb. Don't be lazy. And look, that's part of being lazy. it ain't the easiest thing in the world to do to set up a recruiting visit. You got to get this professor, maybe you got to find out what they like, so you got to go here. You got to make sure that meals are set up on time. You got to make sure your players are where they're supposed to be for you. Now they got all these pictures they take. You got to be smart.
Yeah.
And you got to understand while you're doing all that, who are these people? What are these people about? And that's part of being smart. And that's part of not being lazy. So anyway, you and I both know you got to be smart.
Let's go back to the Colts for a minute and talk about Anthony Richardson. Where does this, do you think that the Colts program is at a crossroads where they're about to go down Richardson Road and leave all these other guys, the 4-12-1 guys, behind?
100%, if they're smart.
Yeah.
I've said forever, look, whoever's in that locker room, they got to be fighting for their job, including guys in the building, including, the great Ed Dodds or Morocco Brown or all these legends of indie media that nobody knows what the hell they do. Everybody would be on notice if I were Jimmy Irsay, and I mean everybody. I'm talking about Quentin Nelson. I'm talking about whoever you want, and I absolutely believe that if you're smart, and I think they are, we'll see. We're going to give Steichen. But you got to get rid of the garbage. You got to get rid of the crap. Not that people are crap, but there's garbage. There's filth with a team that loses as much as they did. And you just got to. I used to call it, you got to wipe your ass and get going. You got to clean up and go. You can't have that crap. You can't have. I guarantee you, Kent. There was bitching. There was moaning. There was blaming all year with that outfit. I guarantee you could see it there. I guarantee you. And then when it really started to go south, there was no coming back from that.
No.
There was just none.
No.
So you get rid of that crap, and away you go. And you can get rid of it by getting rid of important guys. Kent, you know this in your experience as being a leader of men, leader of groups. It ain't always one guy that's doing the whining. That guy doing the bitching that doesn't like the program manager is trying to recruit over here somebody that'll signify for me and say, hey, come with me. This guy's in it. Yeah, you're right, man.
We've got a friend who's a manager who always said you shoot a hostage. When you take a job, you've got to shoot a hostage. Meaning that if you shoot a hostage, all the other hostages are going to somehow become very, very compliant because they don't want to get shot. So the first person who gets out of line, and I really screwed this up in St. Louis, I had a guy in the initial meeting. I'm meeting the staff and I'm talking. The guy interrupted me with a smart ass remark. And I kind of looked at him and I let it go. And I should have said, you get your stuff and get the hell out of here. Thank you for showing me who you are. And then I'd have had the attention of everybody and it would have been over. I've also heard this, which I think is also genius. When you take a job, the first person who comes into your office on day one to congratulate you, you're going to have to fire.
Oh, I bet you. Oh.
And it was absolutely true.
Oh, I guarantee you. He doth protest too much. The opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, good to have you aboard.
Yeah.
You're going to love it here. Hey, okay. All right. What's he going to do that's going to screw me over and I got to fire that guy?
I got a story about that as the head coach of Bowling Green. Danny Ninkovic was a guy that I knew, Dejan, it was his name, Serbian kid. And Dejan wasn't going to have my shit, right? He was going to show me. He played for Larinaga, was a starter. Antonio Daniels was there, so they won a share of the league championship, and he wasn't going to do what I wanted. He was going to show up when he wanted. I go, that's fine. I said, come on in here, Dan. Okay, yeah, you're done. It's over. Goodbye. That's my hostage, right?
Yeah,
I knew
right.
I was looking for one. I go, you're done. What do you mean I'm done? You're done. Go back to Milwaukee. Go wherever you need. You're done. Well, okay, you done? Yeah. Now you're done. Goodbye. His dad, who is a monster, big, angry Serbian. I'm like a week on the job. He wants to come see me. I'm like, okay. What are you going to do? So I'm no dumbass. I know Jamal Meeks is pretty tough. I had a young assistant named Brian Zappik, young guy, pretty tough. And I had an older guy named Knopfs who was just a good dude. So I said, fellas, here's what we're going to do. Mr. Ninkovic's going to sit on that couch. I'm going to sit behind this. This is a true story.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit behind this desk. Jamal, I got to tell you, I think he might be right-handed, which means he's going to probably look to his right mostly. You're going to get on his left side in this chair over here. He won't see you coming. I go, Zap, when he gets up, you got to get up quick first. So he looks at you, and then Jamal, you're just going to blindside his ass right into the dry erase board. And Knopfs, you just kind of sit here and, if he gets to me, give me mouth to mouth. You know what I mean? Guy comes in. He's pissed. Hands this freaking big. And I think, all right. But I'm like, hey, look, here's the situation. Here's what, you can, whatever. Starts crying. My son is a pain in the ass. I know he's a pain in the ass. He's got this broken English. Give him another chance. If I went back to coaching, I probably would. But at the time, I was 34, and I knew what I needed to do. And I'm like, sir, I'll help him get another place. He cannot stay on scholarship here. He's been too insubordinate. This is before you had to kiss their ass.
Yeah, right.
He's bald, begging me. I go, look, here's I had a sheet written out, all the shit he had done in a week. Flunked it. Guy left, shook my hand. Kid went to, I think, Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I don't know if he had a good career, probably all right. But it shocked the shit out of me. But I'll tell you this, it didn't happen immediately. But every guy there, I remember the next week or next month's workouts were pretty different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
100%.
That's exactly right. I don't think, I'm sorry, I'm going too long, but I just think the Colts need that. I think the Colts can't accept what happened last year at any level in the organization.
I'm not sure they're willing to have that conversation with anybody. Have they cut anybody?
They used to. Darius Butler.
Don't take any shit.
Oh, Grigson told Darius Butler when he brought him over from New England, and Butler confirmed it on my show. He goes, hey, look, I'm not fucking with you. He goes, you're a talented kid, but you're a prick. You're a pain in the ass. And if you don't make it here, where are you going to make it? Two best organizations in football at the time, the Colts. He goes, two best organizations. If you don't, where are you going? And Butler told me, he goes, that changed my life.
Really?
He goes, shit, it did.
Honesty at the right time, served correctly, is a great motivator and a wonderful change agent.
Yes, and you know what? With football players, now whether that would work with some high school kid, I don't know. But this was a guy that I'll give Grigson great credit. He read the room.
Yeah.
He knew the guy. He knew exactly he was talented, but he knew that it was something like Grigson, I forget how it went, but he could tell that Butler didn't learn a lesson from being cut.
Yeah.
He didn't learn a lesson from failure.
Yeah.
Which you wrote a great book about, learning lessons from failure.
Yeah.
He didn't. And Grigson's like, I got nothing to lose in this conversation. This guy ain't gonna make our team if he continues down this path. But if he listens to me, or something resonates, whether it's this or something else, then we got a chance to have a hell of a player. Yeah. And he became a hell of a player. But you wrote a book on it. Learning from mistakes.
I made a bunch of mistakes.
Me too. But we're still kicking, ladies and gentlemen. But do you really believe that? Do you think that, let's just say for the sake of argument, Shaq Leonard needs to be told being a douchebag? Do you think the Colts are capable of doing that?
Ooh, no. I don't think they're capable of doing it, and I don't think that Shaquille Leonard is capable of hearing it in the right way.
That's interesting.
I think that he would hear it, you're being a douchebag, if they tried to, no matter how they tried to convey it, how nicely they tried to do it, any kind of corrective, he's going to take personally, I think.
Excuse me.
And I love him. He is a wonderful guy. And you want so badly for him not to be motivated by the negative all the time. And understand, he's got his bag. He's got his $20 million a year. He's never going to have to work again. Go play. Go work really hard. And by all accounts, he's worked really hard through the offseason. He wants to get back. He loves football. But the guy is so prickly. He's so sensitive that I don't know how you live that way. And I don't know, personally, I never hear insults. It's incomprehensible to me that people would insult me. I take everything as a compliment. I would walk around the Emmets building, honest to God, and I think, man, I'm the only guy in the building nobody's talking about. I knew that they were, but it was like, what am I going to do about it? I'm doing my best. And I just went on with my day. I give a shit what people, I don't care. You got a problem with me? Nah. I got lots of people who've got a problem with me. When guys are extra special prickly, I just think, why are you clouding your mind with all this shit? I don't understand it.
I'm going to address something you said right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
And again, you and I really have never talked about Ryan Grigson. I've met Ryan Grigson one time. I've talked to him twice on the phone in my life. That's it.
Yeah.
And people think we're best of friends. But one of the things that I kind of liked about Grigson, I really liked about Grigson, I think Polian did this too, and ultimately it falls on Jimmy Irsay. You said Leonard got his bag. Everybody got their bag on the Colts before it was time to give the bag.
Yeah.
That to me, now you know and I know, what's this baseball? All of a sudden, a guy's hitting 320, he's showing up early. Why is he in a contract year? I think you got to, Grigson, he told me this. He said, Jimmy Irsay, Ryan Grigson, we're not going to give and did not give Andrew Luck his extension until they had to. Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't care how dedicated you are. It takes a special person to not be affected by the comfort of money and the fame that comes with it in professional sports to keep going.
Yeah.
Like Joe Burrow is going to do it. I'm shocked. I'll be shocked. If Shaq Leonard's physically good enough to play, his enthusiasm for play tells me externally that money shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But when there is a problem with a guy that got the bag, it's not unfair to look at the money.
Right.
And why he's not played to that level. You could make the same argument with Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson got the bag. How good's he been last 2 years?
Ryan Kelly got a bag.
Absolutely. Braden Smith got a bag.
And they got their bags, Leonard too, based upon performance during a playoff year where somehow or another things got twisted and Chris Ballard and Jim Irsay decided they were part of the reason for that success at such a level we have to go off rhythm in giving them their extension.
That's right.
And now it's biting them in the ass.
Well, that year, that line, those extensions verified the Ballard MO, which you've talked about a number of times. We're going to build from inside out. That year made Ballard think that he was 1,000% right on this, quote, new way of doing things in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he was dead wrong.
Yeah.
Because as you saw last night, a bad wide receiver, Kadarius Toney, can kill your team, crush your team. And that's what happened last night. And you can say whatever you want, but no Kelsey there to bail everybody out, as you said. He got it dead wrong, but I'm telling you, those extensions were verification for Ballard and his way.
And I think it also came from kind of the magic of that 2018 draft.
Okay.
Where like 17 didn't go great, so 18 had to go great, and he wasn't going to let go of those guys because he needed for people to continue to view 2018 as a great draft, especially after the horseshit 2019 draft, which was historically bad. And if not for the terrible 2013 draft of your best friend, Ryan Grigson.
My best friend.
Yeah. It would be the worst draft in the history of the franchise, going back at least through the Indianapolis era. So, okay, 18 was great, 19 sucked. I better keep these 18 guys so people continue to say, well, Chris knows what he's doing. Or those guys go off someplace and it's no longer Chris knows what he's doing.
Well, that's exactly right. And I will say this about Grigson. Yeah, his drafts that didn't, but I will also say, man, oh man, when your worst record is 8-8, you look back now, you're like, we want 8-8. And I don't think Grigson ever cared about I think he cared about one thing. I think he cared about winning. I do. And I think that was why that's what Bill Polian wanted. Like Jimmy Irsay, I've said this forever, had a sign. Grigson told me this. Nothing interferes with winning. He put it in Polian's office, he put it in Grigson's office, and he did not put it in Ballard's office.
Really?
Yes, he did not, because other things were more important. When I talk about Ballard and I say this is about PR and this is about survival and this is about relationships and this is about social, I'm not saying that out of my ass.
Right.
I'm saying that based on things like that I know. Don't think no.
Right.
That sign was so important to Polian. I asked him one time about it. He goes, oh my God. He goes, you see it every day. So you're sitting there worrying about your wife. Nothing gets in the way of winning.
Right.
Grigson was insane with that. He's like, yeah, I was there every day. And that's why I say, I'm not making this shit up that this is about PR, relationships, or whatever. I'm telling you, a lot of stuff has gotten in the way of winning with the Colts.
Grigson was another guy. Like you asked if you could share my number with Grigson. I was like, all right. And so he called and we talked on the phone for an hour and 15 minutes. And the entire time, what I'm thinking is I'm trying to be conversational and explain things that he was asking me about media-wise. I was like, why does this guy give a shit what I have to say about anything? Why is this guy spending his time on the phone with me for an hour and 15 minutes? Based upon what? Is this a priority that he's going to acknowledge through his presence for 75 minutes? I didn't understand.
I'll tell you why. Because he knows he made mistakes with the media. He knows he made mistakes. Yeah. And he wants to be a GM again. And he wants to set himself. He's a very prepared guy. He's a very thorough guy. And he wants to understand the mistakes from a media's perspective, which he didn't give two shits about. And he doesn't want it to happen again because he's understood that the world that we live in has changed. Perception is reality now, for the most part. And he doesn't want to make the same mistakes. I've asked him that question.
Interesting.
Yeah, I asked him that question. He goes, look, I want my ducks in a row. He always says, when I get another chance, I want to make damn sure I don't make the same mistakes. Now, the draft, you may make a mistake. The free agent, you may make a quarterback. That's ultimately going to cost you. But in terms of handling the external stuff of the job, you don't want to make the same mistakes. And I got to tell you, I kind of like that. I do.
I told him, I was like, all right. He asked me questions, so I told him exactly what I thought the mistakes were.
There you go.
And here's why it was a mistake. And it should have been, I mean, a guy he's got to have some things together.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Right?
Brilliant.
Gotta.
In a lot of ways.
That he didn't understand those things. I thought, well, that's just peculiar. So I thought, you know what? He seems like a reasonable enough guy. I'll tell him. I'll be honest with him, and we'll see what happens. You know, what's he going to do over the phone? He can't hit me over the phone. He can't come over the desk at me over the phone. So, because he's a big guy.
Huge.
Yeah.
And tough. Stupid tough. He had an incident a couple years ago with COVID that 99.9% of people would have died from.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm even supposed to say that, but yeah. And he's just that kind of tough and that kind of warrior, and he's grounded with religion, and it's just, you know, it doesn't mean he won't MF you if you need to. But no, that's why he did it. And look, I think the most important thing you can do in management is know what you don't know.
Right.
And work at what you don't know.
Right.
And I think so many guys,
to what you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think so many guys try to camouflage what they don't know with bullshit.
Yeah.
And ultimately, let's be honest, it wouldn't matter. You can camouflage everything with bullshit if your quarterback's great and you go win 18 games or 12 games, you know. But a lot of times that doesn't happen because of the bullshit. And players know.
And it hadn't happened like for Ballard. All we've seen is that.
It's all we've seen.
The revolving door of quarterbacks and mistakes that compound annually. You know, just they'll kill you. And that's what's. How many quarterbacks do you need to miss on and chase? You're constantly chasing mistakes.
How many edge rushers?
Yeah.
I saw a thing the other day. There was a ML Football is a great site on Twitter. I think it's ML_football. It's a great site. And it had a list. What was the list? It had a list of like quarterbacks that are going in the draft. Yeah. Caleb Williams is first. Okay, it had this list. So here's what they did. So some Colts bloggers, one of them said, well, I don't think the Colts are going to need a quarterback. I think they're going to need an edge rusher. Edge rusher is the number one thing. And they named some guy who's an edge rusher in college. And I immediately thought, that's why I hate these dumbasses. Because they're so stupid. Like, you know what? Okay, maybe they do need an edge rusher. But if you got a blog and you're not a dumbass and you're not kissing everybody's ass, how about you write how the failures of the edge rusher? When it gets to draft time, the Colts have drafted this guy. They signed Ngakoue. Like, Jesus Christ, at some point, why is the general manager there when he's chasing quarterbacks, he's chasing edge rushers, and frankly, he's chasing cornerbacks and doesn't have a wide receiver? Like, goddamn. Like, son of a bitch. Like, what are we, what are you supposed to do?
You can't put out four fires with one hose.
No.
Yeah, that's just mad.
And those are wildfires. Those are the most important things going. This isn't Joe Biden saying I had a little fire in my kitchen, but it almost burnt my house down. These
I
are
almost
wild.
lost my Corvette.
Yes, these are the biggest things. If you're gonna rank the 4 most important positions in football, I gotta think those are whatever order you decide is fine. But quarterback and edge rusher, oh really? I'll also tell you, they chased left tackle too. Now maybe they got the guy. I think they did. I'm glad, but they chased it with that freaking Pryor that they were selling us on a year ago.
They got lucky. Drafted Bernard Ryman at 77. That's not fair.
That's not fair to say.
It's not.
No. I was going to defend him again.
Yeah, that would have been something.
I know.
Should have kept my mouth shut.
No, but that's not fair. Let's say they knew, but he's not done it yet.
No.
Not done it. You know what I saw today? I'm watching Get Up. How many games have been played in the NFL? One. So I'm watching the guy, and I can't remember his name. He's the white former general man. It wasn't Tannenbaum. No, he wasn't general manager. He's a reporter. Garofalo, I don't forget his name. He's on there all the time.
Yeah.
And he says, and I'm going to say this wrong, but he basically said everybody on the field is having problems with offensive line. I'm like, wait a second, they've played one game.
Yeah.
He didn't make it like everybody's having a problem with finding them. Draft, free agency. He didn't say they're having a problem in practice. They made it sound like everybody's having a problem with offensive line in games. That's how it came out.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, there's been one effing game. One. So who's everybody?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to find interesting about the Colts. If Reitman plays well or he plays bad, it's either going to be a celebration of, I guess, Tarek Glenn and Costanzo, or it's going to be, this is Aaron Pryor, whatever the fuck his name is. This is going to be Pryor all over you. One game. I'm telling you, Monday.
Right.
That's what it's going to be.
Well, and we don't know what we're watching.
No, I know. Well, we know what we're watching if he gets beat.
If he's on an island.
Yeah. Or if
we don't know what the scheme is necessarily, whether he was supposed to get help, what Nelson was supposed to do, was Kelly doing this, who called out the protection. There's a lot of shit that goes on to determine who screwed stuff up. We watch, we're not privy to all of that. No. They don't tell us, but and they're good about not telling us. That group's really kind of tight, that offensive line group. They don't throw crap at each other.
But that's why I think Rick Venturi's terrific on the radio, because if you listen to him, he tells you what's happening. He'll tell you that Jonathan Taylor didn't slide over to chip or didn't slide over to make a block, or the protection was changed at the line of scrimmage, which put Raymond on an island. I'm totally with you on that. You're so right about that, because you can watch a tape, and if you and I sat down and watched a football tape, we would know who could play and who couldn't play. We would be like, this guy's okay. But if we really watch a tape with the offensive coordinator, we would know why shit happened.
Right.
We can see what, but we don't know why.
He told me, and this is so interesting, and he always throws things out like this. He's like, watch how they're blocking the zone read. So, like, they'll run a zone read run to the left where the back is supposed to then cut right. And the way they blocked it last year with Strasser, they blocked it head up. They got Ryman blocking out. They've got Nelson going at the linebacker, and they've got Kelly hitting the D tackle. But if the tackle gets the jump, he's going to go by Kelly, and you got a problem. So what this group's doing is they've got Nelson blocking the tackle. They're pulling Kelly into the hole and having him block the linebacker. I would never notice that kind of nuance. Rick points it out easily in a way that I explained it in a way you could understand.
You did. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That he is so smart that he can convey something that I'm going to even be able to understand and then convey. So I've been watching to see just kind of the different blocking schemes and whatnot.
But that to me is one of the bad things about being a bad team, because you got Adam Archuleta or whatever the hell doing the broadcast for you. And truthfully, that should be shown to all of us Like, that's where I always used to think, everybody talks about Romo, and finally people are seeing Romo isn't the same guy talking about that stuff. Romo's phoning it in. Romo's trying to be slick and cute and whatever. And really, that's why I think NFL in-game announcers on CBS and Fox are horrible. Used to love, and I don't know if he still does it, Tony Dungy with the clicker at halftime.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I love Big Noon Football with Urban. When Urban gets on the field with these guys, like, I never knew that, and I watched the wishbone my whole life. I never knew that the most important person to stop the wishbone is you have to stop the fullback. I'm like, what are you talking about? Billy Sims is out wide, flipping. No.
Yeah.
And explanations like that
Right.
are why networks should be paying guys to be analysts.
And here's why they don't. Because management doesn't understand football, and so as they audit the broadcast, they reward all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I loved it when you and Nance talked about cake and what kind of cake.
Boy, that
you
brought
had.
the viewers to us. That made you real.
For women 18 to 49, they love the cake talk. So talk more about cake because they don't know how to evaluate football talk. You hear it in local media. You hear it in national media. You hear it all over the place. The managers know the medium. They don't know the fan watching the medium.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually saw something from a national guy, and I just couldn't help myself because I've been on one in Twitter. I've had a lot of time on my hands, and that's never good. But I'm like, I seriously believe that Holder and Doyle and all the kids, and I don't know shit about football, and maybe I'm wrong. But I also believe that national guys don't actually watch football. I think the national guys get a story or get a clip and then write about. I don't think they actually sit and watch what the hell the game is. Yeah. I honestly believe that because one of these national guys said something so stupid the other day that I said this. I go, you guys just don't watch, or you don't know. One of the two. It's like Coach Knight used to say to you, Dockett, you either don't listen or you're dumb. Which one is it? I'm fucking dumb. Like, I listen to everything you say. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's baffling to me, but you're so right. Like, one of the things that I guarantee you, this was the biggest thing to Tony Romo getting a contract. Tony Romo, when he first started, would call out a play that was going to happen. It was brilliant and it was interesting. And I guarantee you, now that's something that a manager can understand. Man, this is brilliant. Now he doesn't do that anymore, but it's that old adage in football coaching. If you make him believe you get up at 4 a.m, you can sleep till noon.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's still living on that.
And the listenership or viewership for the NFL. Like, you could have me and you could have people across there. It doesn't matter who's calling the game.
No matter.
10 million people are going to watch. It doesn't make. You got Tirico last night with Chris Collinsworth. And Mike's great. I don't know how much Chris Collinsworth watches anything. I'll give you another example that's negative toward me. The other day, and a Jaguars fan was right, on my channel, I'm talking about like positional matchups. And I just kind of glossed over a guy named Tyson Campbell, who's the best cornerback for the Jags. He's really, really good. Really good. And a guy in the comments, and I love the comments for this reason, is like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You didn't even talk about Tyson Campbell. What are you, out of your mind? Do some work, watch some tape. 100% right. It wasn't that I didn't know who he is. I didn't mention him. The guy called me out. Good for you. I got to do better.
That you're a rare media guy, because media dudes, particularly print media dudes, they get this thing where their opinion is right, and when you go against them, man, they can't. TV media dudes too. The insecurities of people, particularly people that haven't had their ass beat, meaning particularly people that haven't coached. If you've coached, you've had your ass beat. And like Mina Kimes, she just signed $2 million or whatever. Anybody that criticizes her, she's crying about. Oh, you're racist. You're like, shut up. You know, you live in this little world. Right. You know, you do the same thing to a guy like Aikman, who's had his ass beat, or even Romo. Romo's been defiant. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, fuck him.
Right.
You know, I mean, people are mad. They're mad. They like. But that's again, I go back to the book you wrote. The value of getting your ass beat. The value of being shot down or fired or quit or divorced or whatever the hell it is.
Being defensive about your mistakes is so toxic.
No,
it's just stupid, and mistakes should be applauded, and mistakes should be internally. Like you don't have to be Pep Hamilton and say, when he was the offensive coordinator, I screwed everything up. I called that pass and I put Andrew in harm's way.
Don't ever do that.
Oh my God!
Don't ever do that.
Whoa!
No.
Trying to wave Pep off from the front row.
I think that I think that the fans know it's your fault no matter what. So don't tell them. I did that when we got blown out at Michigan State. I had a bunch of dumbasses. If I was a betting man, I'd have bet the farm on Michigan State against us when I was coaching Indiana. I'm like ripping their ass because I know I got managers on the floor because I know what they're doing. And next thing you know, we get beat. And I'm an idiot. I'm like, well, it was my fault. I didn't have them ready. And I'm sitting there and my nose should have got bigger. Like, I should have said, you know what, motherfuckers? I did everything I could to get these clowns. Yeah. There's some nights with this team that they're going to get their ass kicked because we just won 3 games and they're idiots. What are you going to
do? I'll tell you this, too. Once media guys get their bag and they've built their brand to what it is, they are insufferable. And they are no longer very good at their jobs at all.
Who is that? Is there anybody in our area?
No. Well, nobody's really. Indianapolis is not a bag market. No, I don't think. But
Holder
nationally,
gets to be on TV a little bit, and he bitches about having to do a hit. I've been told, not by you. I'm like, dude, you should be kissing their ass to put you on a hit on ESPN.
Build your brand. Build your brand. I say no to nobody.
No.
I say yes to everybody. I don't care. I'm in. Plus, it's a nice thing to do. So be nice, be good, respect your employer.
And like us.
And subscribe. Gotta like us.
How many we got? 200 on here?
Yeah, we had 2.
That should be 2 more 100 subscriptions.
And if you want to win this...
by the way, Kent is going to the Kiwanis Club of Bloomington Super Supper. Supper, that's what they call it, Bloomington, the old
Yeah, you get supper.
We're going to have supper.
Yeah, you got to go to the cafe, like Southside Cafe, get you some green beans and some...
Hey, y'all want... Hey, Sean Black.
Steak.
Sean Black and John Buzz, you want to come over for supper? We're going to have supper.
Subscribe, like, enjoy.
Thank you for being
Perfect. Here. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you. I had a good time. We talked about all kinds of stuff.
We covered ground.
They're going to win?
I think they are. I'm betting the money line.
I do. I think they're going to win, too.
I do, too.